You ever have one of those moments where you just feel like you're falling apart and everything is just falling apart around you? We're going to talk about it on today's podcast.
Hi, my name is Michael Johnson. I'm a ballroom dance professional, a life coach, and a peak performance expert. I'm part of a group of motivated people who are dedicated to attaining emotional mastery and unlocking our full potential. We've realized life is a dance. The ups and downs can spin you out of your mind, but it's time to take back control. It's time to become a lifer. We don't believe others are responsible for how we feel. In fact, we don't believe anyone can make us feel anything. We are a new breed of overachievers. Emotional mastery is our journey, and unlocking our full potential is the key. Welcome to the journey. We are lifers, and this is Magic for Life.
What's up, lifers? Michael Johnson here with the Magic for Life podcast. I'm so glad you joined me today. And as I do frequently, I have one of my favorite guests in the whole wide world, Miss Nikki Johnson.
What's up, guys?
Nikki's my oldest, and she just got her driver's permit this year, almost a driver's license. Heaven help me. Anyway, Nikki is probably one of the more philosophical people I know. But we had this idea for a podcast. She said, Dad, I want to do this for the podcast. And so here we are, jumping on, throwing you some amazing knowledge. So what do you got for us today?
So I wanted to talk about how sometimes you just have those moments where you feel like everything is falling apart and you feel like you're having a meltdown and you're just not there and you want to, you just can't focus.
It's totally happened to all of us, right?
Yeah.
Where like everything around you just seems to be like crumbling and seems like you're out of control, seems like you've lost the power to just sort of hang on, huh?
Mm-hmm.
So do you have a time that you're thinking of that's happened to you?
There was one competition actually recently, and me and my partner were waiting in lineup, and we heard the announcer over the however he was talking, and he was saying some news about something big that was happening and all that kind of stuff, and my heart just started racing. I was so nervous, and all of a sudden he told us that the next couple days were going to be canceled because of that big thing that was happening. And just standing in lineup thinking about all the stuff he had said, it had just made my heart drop. We hadn't been able, we wouldn't be able to compete the next couple divisions that we were going to be able to, and knowing that other people weren't going to be able to compete at all, some people close to me, I know that they didn't even get to compete at all. And so
this was your nationals competition, right?
Yeah.
So it was the one you guys had worked for the whole year.
Yeah, and so we were all really excited, but just hearing that news, it was hard to deal with.
It was pretty shocking. I mean, you could feel it. It's Nikki does ballroom, and that's what she said with her partner. And so we were all there, and these kids work for this competition for the whole year. They put everything into it. They put maybe 12 or more hours every week of practice in, maybe 2-3 hours every day of just getting prepped for it, and then all of a sudden having it taken away from you,
Mm-hmm.
Just like that. And you were prepared. It wasn't because you did anything wrong. It was just pulled out from underneath you. But
Yeah.
Tell me about what went through your mind, and could you tell the other kids around that were in the lineup, could you tell everybody was sort of caught off guard and starting to maybe fall apart in that moment?
Yeah, the whole room was just it was dead silent at that moment. No one was talking, and then a few moments after you could just hear everyone whispering. And especially the people in lineup, we were all talking to each other and no way, this has never happened before. This can't be happening. This is just a big joke.
No.
This can't be true.
Well, you said you were talking about melting down or falling apart. Like,
Mm-hmm.
was there a point after that where it finally hit home and you started to sort of just melt down inside or mentally, emotionally? Was there a point in that process? Was it because you had to go out and dance after that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so that kind of like probably kicked you out of it a little bit, huh?
Yeah, it was it was something special. Um, but just there was a moment coming off the stage, um, and I saw someone close to me. I think, yeah, and I just saw her in tears when I came up,
Mm-hmm.
and at that moment, I really wanted to help her,
Sure.
but I couldn't.
Yeah.
So.
That's funny because in that moment, from a different perspective, I was watching that all go down, and that same young lady that you saw in tears, she had worked all year long. This was their big moment, and they weren't going to get a chance to do what they had prepped for,
Mm-hmm.
and in hindsight, you look back and you kind of go, okay, there was a heck of a lot more that has happened since then with all of the quarantines, and who would have thought it was going to turn into something that big. And in hindsight, you look at that event and you go, well, it's not that big of a deal compared to all of us being quarantined at home, and it seems to have gotten worse before it actually was getting better, right? you
Mm-hmm.
you wrote some interesting thoughts down, and that's kind of what spurred us to want to get on and do this podcast. So tell me a little bit more about what you wrote down.
Okay, so something that led us to go on this topic was that we have to remember that we're human and it's okay to have feelings. So like you you don't well, you do have control. That's for
Sure,
sure.
sure.
But sometimes there are just those moments where you can't deal with it at that moment in time because the feeling is so overwhelming and it's hard to focus on the good things at that moment.
Right. Well, and it sort of caught you off guard
Yeah.
in that time period. And I think we've all had moments like that where something catches you off guard, and before you have a chance, you react a certain way because of what that meant to you. Now, if
Mm-hmm.
for some of the people watching or listening, they might not have a connection to your national championship that you were dancing in, because to them they don't really care about that. But I'm sure you've had moments where something that you've cared about so much, that you've given so much meaning to, uh, and planned for, something out of control happens, and it's easy to snap into that next mode.
Yeah.
So how can we combat that? How do we deal with those moments where we do lose control?
I'd say practice. Practice is key. There's
Yeah.
one for you, Nate. um, but really, it's just you have to just practice. I guess I don't know. There's
Yeah.
really
Well, that sounds
not
so
another
weird
way,
to a lot of
right?
people. When I talk to them about emotions, the idea of practicing seems
It's scary.
kind of seems out there in
Yeah.
left field a little bit. Like, practice? That's not something they teach us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about that quote that you said about the bow and arrow. I love that.
Okay. So I wrote, in a way, our life is like a bow and arrow. We are the arrow, and life is the bow. When we are wanting to move forward, the only way to do that is to step back, relax, pull the arrow back, and when we can let go, or then we can let go and move on with our lives.
That's cool. There's so much about that. And you made that up, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Nice. I like that. Now, that's not what we started on today, but let's talk about that for just a second. So, I think the hardest part is letting go, which is funny, right? You grab a bow and arrow, and I grab that and I pull it back, and letting it go doesn't seem like it's anything. In fact, when you pick up a bow and arrow, that first initial, if you're using a heavy bow and arrow, is really hard to step back. I think in life sometimes it's really easy to step back, and then a lot of people never let go. They just quit.
Yeah.
Right? It's like,
that's the
I
hard
can't
thing,
take
is
it.
because when you get to that moment where you have to let go, it's like, okay, wait a minute. Like, that's the moment when you realize I'm actually here right now.
Yeah.
And if I actually do this, my life is going to change. I don't know how, but it's going to change.
Yeah. You, as you guys can tell, we're here in the lovely setting of Miss Nikki. So this is our lovely backdrop. But I'm looking across the room to her whiteboard across the room here, and it says, "Today is the day everything will change." And that is, again, very philosophical. The truth of the matter is that is the only constant, is change. And so without a doubt, today is the day everything will change. Right now, you're listening to this, you're watching this from wherever it is that you are, and from this point forward, everything will change. That is a given, that is a for sure. And the question is, will you be in charge of that change? Will you be the one that has let go of the arrow? Or will it be somebody else? Did somebody else pull back your bow and arrow? And they're the ones shooting you in the direction that they want you to go. And that's where you have to make the choice, right? You have to make the decision that today is the day everything is going to change. And it's going to change because I decided it was going to change, because I decided the direction I was going to go. And when things come your way, there has to be some way to deal with it. You had another quote that we started this whole conversation about. What was it? You had written something else down.
That one?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see.
Yeah.
It said, "Don't forget you're human. It's okay to have a meltdown. Just don't unpack and live there. Cry it out, then refocus on on where you're headed."
I love that. Yeah, I love that. Did you write that?
No, I don't know who that was by.
That's an unknown?
Mm-hmm.
All right, you can take credit. No, I love it, right? It's I think so many times when I talk to people about emotion and about upgrading your emotional operating system, we talk about it a lot because upgrades, changes is inevitable. And we know we're going to have to. But I think a lot of people think that what I'm trying to get across is that you shouldn't feel a way, or you shouldn't feel sad, or you shouldn't feel angry, or you shouldn't have a meltdown.
And it's probably because they think they can't get out of it. And so they're scared of staying in that one emotion for a long period of time.
We've done some interesting work, haven't we?
Yeah.
Where we've gone into some of those
pretty cool
places that are not necessarily things that people are used to, but going in to do sadness on purpose is scary.
Yeah.
Because of that very reason, like getting out of it seems scary, but we've done it with a group of people, and I think people were surprised and freaked out, but when we came back out of it and we showed that you could turn it off and turn it back on again and turn it off and go to a different space emotionally, but then have control of it, that's pretty empowering, right?
Yeah. And it helps you so much, in all the stuff you're doing, whether it's like dance or even tennis or swimming, like whatever you're doing, it's always helpful because you can switch the way you're thinking. Sure.
And it's not to say that things don't catch you off guard, right? I mean, that happens, but I think the ability to practice it and have a method or a system of practicing it is huge, right? And we aren't taught that. We should be taught that, but we haven't been taught that. And so, listen, if you want a proven method, a systematic method of practicing that, you know what? Let us know. Comment down below in the, if you're watching on YouTube, comment down below and let us know that you want some direction on how to do that. But honestly, go pick up a copy of my book, everyminutebook.com, and you can get a free copy of my book, Every Minute. And it's about understanding some of these principles, and it's the first step to heading towards those principles and being able to practice it. But go pick up a free copy of it. All you have to do is pay for shipping. I'll pay for the book. I mean, that's a pretty good deal, right?
It's a really good deal.
That's 20 years of my life that it took, to come up with that and to put that into a process and systematic method of doing it. And honestly, guys, it's worth way more than that, but I want to get it in your hands. I want you to be able to utilize it and change your life, because you see, today is the day everything will change. Today is the day. It's just a matter of whether you're going to be in charge of the change or whether the world around you will be in charge of the change. And that's really the key, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to end it with anything?
You're in charge of your life, and nothing can change that. Just be
Awesome.
there for yourself and love yourself.
I love it. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us today. Go get them, lifers. Peace out.
Want more magic for life? If so, then reserve your copy of my new book. Get your copy at everyminutebook.com. Inside this book, you'll find the secrets to attaining the next level of performance in anything you do. Learn the secrets behind emotional mastery that'll start you on your new journey of being a lifer. Whether you're an athlete, a business professional, or an artist, this book will change your life forever. Get your copy reserved today.